My name is Michael Davis, and I'm doing my presentation on text messaging. And so let's go ahead and get right into it here. The way we communicate to each other nowadays has changed dramatically since the time of carrying messages by horseback, or maybe you've seen a movie where they wrap a note around a bird's ankle and send that cross country, across state, or whatever. Or maybe you've seen a man on a deserted island that writes a note and puts it in a bottle, throws it into the ocean, and hopefully someone will find it and come and rescue him. But you would never have guessed that decades later that you could send a message instantly from anywhere in the world and receive it anywhere in the world within a matter of seconds. But you know, in today's technology, you can do that. But today I'll discuss how the evolution of communication has come to the world of text messaging. Everyone's used short messages to quietly talk to others from the early ages of like 8 or 9, when you send a note to an admirer at the front of the class, or they've done the same to you. But nowadays, it's very similar to that, except you use one of these instead of a piece of notebook paper, which is becoming more and more obsolete nowadays with computers and phones and all these electronic devices. But in my opinion, I feel that everyone that has taken the technology boom somewhat seriously has the credibility to at least loosely discuss its relation to text messaging, which I'm doing now. And during my brief look at the evolution of communication here with regards to text messaging, I'll talk about its inception, its increasing acclaim, and its future expectations. But first, let's talk a little bit about the inception of text messaging with regards to communication. From the drawings on walls of caves to horseback messengers to handheld devices, the way we send messages to each other has gravely changed our process of communication. It's used to take days, weeks, or even months for the most mundane to the critically important messages to get around to their destinations. If only Paul Revere could have texted John Hancock and Sam Adams that the British were coming, that maybe he would have had more time to prepare for their invasion. But to get back to more around nowadays, or late 80s, early 90s, they say, is when the first actual text message was said to have been sent in 89, actually, when people used to use beepers a lot. Do you remember those things? You never see them hardly at all anymore, except for maybe on doctors, or that's the only people that I can think of that still use them. But they used to use those to communicate words through upside down numbers and symbols and so forth. I've done that a little bit with calculators, spelling words with the numbers upside down. But today we commonly use this phone feature on a possibly more frequent basis than we actually speak to people. As TMC net editor Michael Dennon infers that 42% of consumers use their mobile phones to text as much or even more than they do to make calls. But the use of texting has become an ever-increasing form of communication in regards to popularity. I can understand why it might be preferred to write a text rather than actually speak to someone about it. It kind of gives the receiver time to think about what they're going to say and how they would like to word their message to the sender before they actually send it to them. School kids have moved from writing love notes to texting such notes, just because it's easier, it's the fad, it's what's in now, and it doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon. It's become a very rapidly popular and somewhat addictive form of communication. As determined by my Wikipedia source, in 2000 there were 17 billion text messages that were sent. And 2001 there were 250 billion, and double that a year later. So there, it's exponentially increasing. There are many different ways to go about texting someone these days. You can use your phone, your computer, PDAs, any other internet-based communication, basically. But some forms of communication become obsolete in a very short amount of time, while others thrive and ultimately take charge of all other communicative efforts. Speaking mostly about text messaging, of course. But even in these times of financial hardship, text messaging still flourishes because of its affordability and its accessibility. You can easily buy a cell phone and a considerable amount of minutes, text messaging units rather I should say, with as little as $20 or $30, which is very affordable, and its ease of use and range of possibilities makes it an increasingly sought out approach of communication. Yale actually has established a new form of text messaging called Zuku, which allows students in large lecture classes to text message questions to some sort of computer server interface that they use to answer the question straight away. So I can imagine in a large lecture classroom that you'd probably be holding your hand up for a long time before someone could get to your question, especially if a lot of people have questions at that point. So using text messages to ask your question seems like a very quick and efficient way to get your question answered. And with these strides in text messaging technology, the possibilities are only limited to the imagination. And it's also predicted that this will be a main form of advertisement within the next 5 years or so, as you can probably already see nowadays you get little texts of certain promotions of whatever kind. And so in this recording, we've discussed the evolution of communication with regards to text messaging and its rise in popularity over the past few years, and what alternate functions we might use this form of interaction for in the future. So the next time you think about how long it's taking your friend to get back to you about your incredibly important leisure engagement via text, remember how long it took for that same message to get around to its receiver a few generations ago. Probably took a heck of a lot longer, from nowadays maybe 1 second to then a day, a week, a month, or maybe even a year for a letter to finally reach somebody. But we should feel fortunate to live in the age of such advanced technology, and not to mention the gadgets and doodads to come in the future. So I hope you've enjoyed my presentation, and I hope I get a good grade on it. Thanks for listening.